Hold up, I am on my way, I'm in motion. Let's go to the ocean. Yeah, let's go outside. We can hang out on the beach without freezing.
Welcome to Crafty Beach. This is Julie. Today I have Easter Dollar Tree DIYs for you, and my theme today is coastal. So let's get started with my brand new coastal Easter DIYs. For the first DIY, I thought it'd be really fun to take one of the wood chunky bunnies from the Dollar Tree. They have these in bunnies, chicks, eggs. They're really cute. I'm just going to go ahead and remove the tag off the back of it. Heat usually works for that when it's really on there. And we're gonna make a shell encrusted bunny rabbit. Now you could use the small jars like that from the Dollar Tree with seashells on there, but I've noticed they've been a little hard to find, at least at my Dollar Trees. So I actually got this big jar of them on Amazon for probably just as cheap. I do have it linked in my Amazon shop in the description of today's video if you want to check that out. But the glue we're using is just the Dollar Tree tacky glue. This stuff works great for tiny seashells. It dries clear, but it's really strong. I've even used it for outdoor wreaths and stuff like that, and all of my shells stayed in place. I like it a lot better than hot glue. It's just a little bit easier for what we're doing here. Now, I do want a lot of tacky glue on here though, because I need enough to make contact with all the shells we're going to put on there. And I'm using the variety, all the different shells mixed together, but I am going to probably pick out some of the ones that are a little big. Usually they're pretty consistent, but there's a couple in here that are rather big. And I'm just going to start sprinkling them all over. I'm not going to have like an eye or anything like that. I'm going to have it just all shells all over the silhouette. And again, just picking out some of the larger ones there, and I'm going to start scattering these all around. I wanted to make sure that I got tacky glue everywhere so I could do shells from side to side on this. And I'm trying to add them in a layer. So I want to make sure that there's none that are on top of each other or too close together, because I want to make sure they all make contact with the glue. That is an important part. And it really doesn't take too long for this to dry either. You would think, using another kind of glue like this, it would take a long time, but it really doesn't. I think I let this sit for maybe an hour or two, and it was already ready to go. And I'm just kind of taking my time when I get to the edges, because I want to make sure that I go all the way to the edges, but again, I don't want to overlap. And I think this is going to turn out so cute, and it was so easy to make. So another fun idea, what you can do with like these little chunky signs from the Dollar Tree for Easter, I think they're so cute. And I was really excited to do some more coastal DIYs for all my coastal lovers out there. When I add any more to the sides to make sure it goes all the way to the edge, I just might add a little bit more of the tacky glue to make sure it's going to be nice and strong. And this worked really well. Every single one of my shells stayed glued on, and I think it looks so cool. Again, the tacky glue dries clear, so you will be able to see the wood through it when you're done, but it also does kind of dry a little bit glossy, so be prepared for that. But that'll look nice with all of these glossy seashells, I think. So that looks pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and start the drying process just a little bit with my heat gun, but basically you just need to lay it flat, let it dry, and this is how it looks when it dries. Isn't that so pretty? A shell encrusted bunny silhouette. I love it for a coastal Easter. Really fun, and I love the variety of all the different little tiny seashells like that mixed together. If you're at the beach, some of our beaches like have crushed shells where you can just pick it up with the sand as all crushed shells. You could also do that. That would be really pretty as well. Isn't he so cute? I love him. Now for the next coastal Easter DIY, I'm going to use one of the 24-inch stacked egg decor from the Dollar Tree. Plus, they're $5. And I'm only going to use 2 of these together. I want to make a coastal Easter bunny for my front porch. Now, I was trying to decide if I wanted to make a small one using those 2 eggs, or if I wanted to make a giant one using these 2 eggs. And I decided giant because it's going to go like on the little table next to my front door. And I want to make a big statement piece. But I also want it to be coastal. So I picked up the white ones because I thought it would be easier to hide that if you were able to see between any of the rope. And we're basically going to wrap them all with the nautical rope from the Dollar Tree. Now, I went back and forth on which kind of nautical rope I should use. They have two different kinds. This is like the 6.8 foot. They also have like an 11 foot. I decided to use the 6.8 foot because it's going to cover more because it's wider. But it is shorter. So you're going to have a lot more seam. So keep that in mind when you're deciding which one you're going to use. But you're going to want to make sure to use the same rope because it's going to take quite a few packages to make a giant coastal Easter bunny. I used a total of 12 packages of the 6.8 foot, and I just start here on the bottom of my bunny, and I am just hot gluing it. Now, I want to hot glue everything down so it stays put. I don't want any loose rope, and I want to make sure that my seams are pretty tight. If you could only find the pastel colored stackable eggs, you'd probably get away with it if you make sure that your seams are really tight, but the white's going to be a little bit easier, definitely if you're using the nautical rope, which is white. So this is how far one package got me, and I was like, oh, I'm going to have a lot of seams. And the seams on the thicker rope like this, you can make them seamless, but it's a little difficult. What I'm going to do is try to line up all of my seams on the back of the bunny so you won't be able to see them. So I did have to do some cutting, but I'm going to try to use as much as I can out of a full package. And again, I just start and stop it together there and start wrapping it around. I wasn't sure at this point whether I was going to do that, line up all the seams on the back, but it's pretty noticeable, even if you do work with it a little bit on this big rope like this. So I'm going to go around, and when I think I have a good place, like I can hide this one on the back closer to that seam that we just did without wasting too much or making too much scrap material. And then I start and stop again. And I'm pretty much going to line up all of the seams with that one there on the back. And for the ears of the Easter Bunny too, I'm going to line up the seams on the back. So it is going to have a back side. That's not going to be quite as pretty as the front, but that's totally fine. And I thought that a rope bunny would be really cute, like just a very coastal feel for this. And I love wrapping things with Dollar Tree rope. I'm not a big fan of the diamond texture pattern on these eggs. So far I've been trying to find different things to cover them with. I really don't, well, maybe one set I'll try to paint and maybe distress that pattern on there. I picked up a whole bunch of packages of these eggs because every time I go into my Dollar Tree, I see them and I'm like, oh, I should buy more. I have so many Easter DIYs planned for you guys this year. I love that Easter's late. We have plenty of time to DIY. And again, I just keep building this up. I was trying to decide if I wanted my rope to stop when I got to the top of this egg. That way I could take it apart for storage, but I ended up making it all one piece. But if that's a concern of yours, you could always stop the rope when you get to the top of this and start again on the next egg. But I'm going to continue it on. So I go up here and see how far this package is going to make it. Again, I want to make sure my seams are all on the same side. And so I did have to shorten this a little bit just to make my seams fit right. And then I'm just going to glue this here, and we can go ahead and snap the second egg, the middle egg, onto this. And I will just save the top egg for this for another DIY. It'll come in handy for that. In my last Easter DIY video, I decoupaged an egg using the top piece, so that's always an option. And once I snapped it on there, I just continue gluing the rope all the way up. I also have planned to add ears to make a big bunny, and I just love how this guy turned out. He's so cute. I always love a good rope Dollar Tree DIY, and I really enjoy working with the nautical rope. It's so clean compared to the brown rope that you don't have to burn it or anything like that. Again, the seams on this one were a little bit rough. I probably could have made them a little bit better, but hiding them on the back seemed to work well for me. And so when I'm wrapping this middle one, it is a smaller egg, but I am making sure that I hide my seams here in the same place. And I do have this way sped up for you, but it really didn't take very long to do this. I basically just glue one section at a time to make sure my hot glue stays hot, but definitely paying attention to where that seam is. Now, once I get to the top of this egg, it does have the hole in the top. We're going to kind of ignore that. Keep spiraling the rope around to finish it off and give it a solid top to the bunny head. And we're going to decorate this bunny too. I thought at first just to leaving it rope, but I did want to add a little bit of decor to it as well, but only a little bit because I really like the silhouette of the rope bunny. This is what I'm talking about, how it is open here on the top of the egg. So again, I'm just going to continue that rope, spiraling it around. When I get to the areas that don't have any plastic to glue to, I can just glue the rope to each other and closing up the hole on the top of the head. Now, I wasn't sure what to use for bunny ears. I wanted something a little bigger because this is a big bunny. So I didn't really want to use any Dollar Tree bunny ears for this. And I also didn't want to use cardboard because I'm going to put this bunny outside. And in the slim chance that it does get wet, I didn't want the cardboard inside to disintegrate. And so what I'm going to end up using is some of the flexible cutting mats from the Dollar Tree. The thing about this is it ended up, the ears are a little floppy, which is actually a little bit cute, but could be sturdier, but it is going to be easy to cut. So I just use some bunny ears for reference, and then I make them longer because this is a big bunny. And I will be able to wrap this with the Dollar Tree rope to provide 2 ears for the top. And it's not going to be very heavy either, which is good because I'm going to need to glue these on the top of the bunny head and I want to make sure they stay in place. So I just sketched those out and I'm going to cut them out, trying to make sure that they are the same size. And I think these are going to work really well. Again, a little floppy. If I had something stronger, I don't know if it would have been so easy to cut into this custom shape. But again, just like before, I'm going to wrap these. I just marked the front of mine because I kind of lined them up what looked good on my bunny. So I remember which side was the front on these. And we're going to start wrapping these. So I'm going to start on the back because I want the seam to be on the back. And basically, I'm just going to wrap it, this time just around a flat surface though. Again, trying to keep my seams tight so you can't really see in between. And I'm going to go all the way up to the curvy top of the bunny ear. Now, this is a really big bunny. I just measured it. It's 25 inches tall, so definitely a statement piece. If you wanted to make a smaller one, you could use the 2 top eggs. It's going to be a lot smaller. You're going to use less rope. And again, I used 12 packages of the 6.8-foot nautical rope. That's always a question I get, so I made sure to count them for you. And this one I used a scrap piece to start, which made me have to do a seam, which I didn't really enjoy, but I hit it on the back, so I think it's going to be okay. I opened a new package though to finish the rest of it, so I would have less seams. And then it gets a little skinnier here at the top, and then I want to make sure to cover the very tip top here, just by making sure you can't see any of the plastic, gluing the rope to itself right about here. And again, I think they're sturdy enough to hold up outside for weather, but they do kind of flop a little bit, which I guess is the materials that I used. If you wanted a sturdier one, I think a thicker cardboard would be sturdier, and that would be something that you could cut too. And I'm going to go ahead and do the second bunny ear the same exact way. I was thinking whether I needed to use some skewers or something to stake the ears on to make them strong. But since they're so lightweight with that flexible cutting board in there, really the only weight to this is the rope itself. I think it's going to be fine just to glue these on top of the rope bunny. And the rope did weigh down the bunny a lot since I used so many packages of rope on it that it made it a little bit heavier duty item for outside that I don't think it will blow over or anything if I put it on my front porch area. So we have 2 bunny ears. Let me show you how I go about attaching. So I have my back with all my seams back there, and I'm going to attach the 2 bunny ears like this. So for the first one, I put hot glue on both of those bottom ropes and just place it right here to the side on my bunny head and hold it in place. You're going to want that glue to set up as much as you can between the rope. I flipped mine over and did another band of hot glue back here where you can't see, let that set up, and repeated that. So I have 3 different really coats of hot glue on that. Now it's not totally dry yet, so I'm kind of afraid to let go of it, but I thought we could get started here with the second ear. Again, lots of hot glue there. Stagger it here on the other side, and then I held that and then flipped it over and did a couple rows of hot glue on the back of that one as well. Now you could stop here and just have a rope bunny. He's really cool. Look how magnificent he is. I love him. But I thought he needed a little something. So I'm going to add a bow, but I want to make it very coastal and simple. So I'm using some of the wired burlap ribbon from the Dollar Tree. And I just cut out a piece long enough to wrap around his little bunny neck, and I simply tie it. I'm going to use these for the tails of my bow. That'll make it a little bit easier. I want them to be short though. I don't really want it to take away from the rope. So I'm going to go ahead and cut those. I end up cutting these like 3 different ways. I dovetailed them at first, but then I was like, oh, maybe I'll just like them at an angle better. And then in the end, I ended up making them square. So it kind of evolved. And then I want to make a bow using some of the mesh ribbon from the Dollar Tree and that burlap ribbon. And we're just going to do a faux bow that we can put together with a zip tie, something really easy. So I'm going to need a couple of loops on both sides here of the burlap ribbon. But so I'm not cutting any tails on that since I already have tails on the burlap ribbon. But I also want to do that mesh ribbon in between. So I'm going to cut that in half. And I'm going to do 2 loops of the burlap ribbon overlapping slightly, make a tail of the mesh ribbon, and then I'm going to do a loop on each side, just 1 on each side, and cut a second tail here, gathering everything in the middle. There's no need to twist because there is no right side or wrong side to either one of these ribbons. And then slightly overlap my loop here for the top bow. And then I take a zip tie and I'm going to put that through the ribbon right here, and we're going to tie it all together. Just making sure my tails were down where I wanted them to be. And I'm just going to zip tie it. There's enough bows where it's wired. I can make this fluffed up and filled up. You won't be able to see the zip tie or anything like that. I just put the back of it back there where you can't see that little zip tie and kind of froof it up a little bit. That's when I was like, you know what? I just really want these to be square. I just wanted the tails to be short and kind of out of the way. I just needed a little something to decorate him. And I think this is a fun little coastal touch to our rope bunny. This is how he turned out, all 25 inches of him. He's so cute. And again, you could also do this with any of the ropes from the Dollar Tree. I just actually ordered a case of rope delivered free to my Dollar Tree. So that's always an option if you use a lot of rope for crafting like I do. But I think he's magnificent. I love him. Now for the next DIY, I picked up a chunky Easter egg from the Dollar Tree. This is similar to the bunny, the chick, the different ones they have. And for this one, I wanted to use some of their sea glass. So this is the Dollar Tree sea glass. I noticed these new foil packages like this, they have ones like this that don't have the royal blue in them, which I prefer because I don't really like the royal blue too much in these. And I'm going to use tacky glue. I use a paintbrush and I just paint the back of them. This is going to be plenty strong, and we're going to do a mosaic. And I figured out a way to make grout just using supplies from the Dollar Tree, so I'll have to show you my recipe in here in just a second. Now I am trying to alternate the colors. I like the teal, the clear, and the green. I'm going to use them all. And as you can see, I'm not fitting them super tight, but I try to make it work. If I can turn it away, that'll make it fit a little bit better to make it make sense, even using some of the larger ones. The sea glass from the Dollar Tree is very flat, so it's really easy to find a flat edge to glue down. And this is going to be plenty strong, but I didn't really want the wood to show through on the back of this. I wanted it to look more like a mosaic, and I don't really have any plaster of Paris. So I have another fun DIY to learn how to make that. It's the first time I've made a DIY grout like this, and it actually turned out really well. Now, when I get to the top here, I'm just going to go ahead and try to keep the pattern. I wanted to open another package here so that I had a few of the bigger pieces. Since this is kind of a big Easter egg, I thought this would be a really fun way to decorate an Easter egg. Now, you could do this on any of the Easter shapes. I think it would be really cute. I was trying not to use too many light colors next to each other so it looks a little bit more random like that, and I think that looks pretty good. I let it dry for a little bit before I started my DIY grout. And to make it, I'm going to use a Mod Podge and baking soda. So I'm going to do 2 parts baking soda to 1 part Mod Podge. You could also use school glue for this. And you're going to want to mix it up until you get a good consistency. If it's too dry, have a little water nearby, and you can add just a little bit of water to make it that grout texture that you're going to need. And this is going to make it white. Now, I changed my mind about wanting it to be white after I already had it on, so I'll show you what I did to fix it. But if you want to color your grout, I think it's 3 parts baking soda to 1 part Mod Podge, 1 part paint in the color that you want, and then a little water if you need it. So keep that in mind. I thought white would be fine. It would really make these colors pop, but I think I forgot how white baking soda is. I just spread mine all over, and you're going to want to do this part before it sets up because this really starts getting hard rather quickly. I wanted to go in and wash it off all of my beautiful sea glass stones. I just went in with a baby wipe and tried to get as much off of the top as I could. Maybe I might have used a little bit too much. So keep that in mind. This part is a little bit of elbow grease, but it's worth it. You're definitely going to want to be able to see that beautiful sea glass through there. That's when I started realizing this is super white. I didn't want it to be stark white. I almost wanted more of a sand color. So to fix it, I'm going to mix some Mod Podge and paint together and basically stain my grout after the fact. I wouldn't recommend doing it this way though, because this paint Mod Podge combination that I did, it dried really fast. So I had a hard time getting it off my sea glass that I had just cleaned up. But I like the color of it. It's Beachcomber Beige acrylic paint. So if you wanted to make yours colored, again, 3 parts baking soda, 1 part Mod Podge, 1 part acrylic paint, and maybe a little bit of water. So next time I make it, I think I'll try to dye it. But it worked pretty well. But again, it was gluing onto my sea glass, and I didn't want that. I just wanted the color really to be on the grout part. And then I'm going to give it a quick shine with some Windex here to make sure all of our sea glass is gleaming. And this is how it turned out. Isn't it pretty? It has so much character. I only used a couple of items from the Dollar Tree, and I really love the colors. If you wanted to do your own color scheme, you could always mix up with colors. Again, it does come in one package that has a little bit of a royal blue in there too. But I love the sea glass vibe of this. It's very coastal. And this is how it looks next to that shell bunny. I think they might be kind of cute displayed together like that. For this DIY, I wanted to see if I can make a rattan bunny wall hanging using some of these wire wreath forms from the Dollar Tree. I saved all of my grass skirts from a luau party last summer, so I have plenty of these to use for raffia. If you just take them off of the rope itself, there's 2 of them knotted together on here, but if you pull slightly on them, they will untie and you'll have 2 long pieces. And I'm going to start with the 2 smaller rings from the Dollar Tree, and I want to make a bunny head and a bunny body. So this medium size one, I guess, is going to be the body. I just knot it onto the wreath form gently because it is made out of paper. I don't want to tear it. And then I also hot glued it to make it stay into place. I wrap it around to the other side, knotting that. And as you can see with that wire wreath form, even though I tie it on there, I can't tie it super tight. It's going to move around a little bit. So I did have to tack each one of my knots down with a little hot glue, but I want a random pattern and I want it to all be covered like with a rattan pattern. So I am just going to make it random. So I made that one go straight across. I made this one kind of go to the side like this, and I just gently knot it, then attach it with hot glue, trying to make sure that it stays rather taut so we can get a good pattern. I want a pretty good coverage. I'm not going to fill it up all the way, but I do want everything to be basically covered with this to make it look like a little rattan bunny rabbit. I thought that'd be really fun. And I'm going to just go as far as my piece will let me go and then cut it off and start again. I think I can make this one work a couple more times. And again, there's no rhyme or reason to this, no pattern. I'm really just kind of going an area that hasn't been covered already. And I thought this would be a fun idea. Now, it ends up being a little bit of a two-tone project for how I finish this. If you wanted your grass skirts or your raffia to be a little darker, I have used like Antique Wax by Waverly on this before to dye them a little bit before you start crafting with them. So that would be a fun option. But I kind of like the color of the grass skirts. I think it does look fun and coastal. So I'm going to go with it just like this. And again, I just knot gently. I don't pull it too tight because I don't want it to rip, and then hot glue it in place. Hot gluing each one in place was key because it definitely wouldn't have kept this cool pattern if I hadn't done that. But you're definitely going to need a wreath form that is single like this. You're only going to want one edge. I'll be able to go back and cover that later. I thought about just weaving the grass skirt around the edges to cover up the gold metal, but then I end up doing something a little bit different to cover that part up. But that is always an option to finish this when you get good coverage. I kept adding to it until I was happy with it. It looks like it's getting pretty full here, but you know what? You could add as much of this raffia as you wanted. You could pretty much get almost complete coverage. It's totally up to you and whatever look you're going for. I think maybe one or two more pieces is all this one's going to need. Again, you can make quite a few of the knots with the same piece. This is pretty long, and depending on what size of grass skirt you have, but I always like to save these for crafting projects because it makes a really great raffia for things like this, and it's always fun when you can use crafting materials from the Dollar Tree. So I think that looks pretty good. Let's go ahead and do the same thing here for the head of the bunny. And I'm going to use a little wire jute for the ears. You could use really any kind of wire, or you could even use another one of these like wire wreath forms if you cut it and bent it a little bit if you want some strong wire. But basically I want that same pattern. So it's a little bit smaller. This one's going to go a little bit further. I am just knotting and gluing and going to cover this entire thing up. I have done a few different things like rattan. I think I've done like a rattan mermaid's tail using one of the wreath forms from the Dollar Tree that turned out really cool. I think that's one that I actually dyed with the Antique Wax by Waverly too to change the color of it. So if you wanted to change the color of it, you really could use watered down acrylic paint too if you wanted to stain it. It's such a light material, it's going to take color pretty well, but you're going to want to do that and dry it before you start working with it, I think. So again, just pretty good coverage. And I just add more to it till I'm happy with it. It was actually pretty easy to do, but you're going to be making quite a few pass-throughs for it. So we have our little bunny head. We have the bunny body. It's going to be super cute. And then this is the wire jute I'm going to use for the ears. It's not going to be the strongest wire that you could use for this, but it's something that it's probably the strongest wire that I could find from the Dollar Tree to craft with. It's a little tricky though, attaching it to the wire wreath form. I tried twisting it at first, but that wire likes to slip out of the jute. So what I ended up doing was folding it and gluing it together. That worked a little bit better. And I used wire cutters to make sure that it didn't fray out or anything like that. I'm just going to make sure that it has an overlap here. And then I'm going to basically glue it to itself. And that seemed to work better than the twisting because I wanted to again, make sure that the wire stayed in there. And I just did a bunny ear to scale with the size head. Using that one for reference, I'm going to make another little bunny ear for over here. Again, I fold it, hot glue it to itself. They're going to stand up on their own. What we're going to use to cover the outside of this is going to give it even more stability. But I think that's going to be enough structure to be able to cover the ears of it with the raffia as well. So there's our little bunny head. You don't even really have to fill in the ears with the raffia, but I thought it would be cute. I start by tying off my first piece. And since this is not as strong as the wire before, what I'm going to do is just wrap it around instead of knotting it. And then I use hot glue to glue it to the jute. And that seemed to be plenty strong enough for this. And I'm just going side to side a little bit in a diagonal pattern, trying to fill this whole thing up. But again, I do want it to be a little bit random, have some going maybe down here, mix it up a little bit. But again, I want pretty good coverage. And again, I'm just hot gluing that to it until I get enough. I think that looks pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and attach this and just remove the excess. I'm going to do the same thing over here. Again, very random. You can't mess this up. Again, when you're tying that on there though, just be very gentle. I didn't have any of mine tear, but that's kind of in the back of your mind when you're working with this stuff, when you're wrapping it around things like this. And I just do a random pattern over here to finish out our other bunny ear. I kind of like the look of the jute and the raffia together. So I'm going to keep going with that with just using some scrap rope from the Dollar Tree. This is the brown rope and it's kind of the thicker one. I wanted it to be thick enough to be able to cover all of the knots here on the side. Again, you could wrap it with a grass skirt around there. I thought it would be easier to do the rope, and I thought it would also provide a little bit of stability for the ears as well. So just going on the very front, I started there at the bottom using hot glue to attach it. And when I get to the ears, I'm just going to go around those as well, kind of making it all one piece. The wire at the bottom of the bunny ears won't be covered with rope, but that's okay. It looks fine like it is. And again, I'm just going over the ears, working one section at a time, hot gluing it, try to making sure, again, that it's covering all of the wire, wreath form, and any of the knots. This is going to help seal it on as well. And it gives it a fun outline for the bunny silhouette. And I think that the two colors end up working well together. And again, if you wanted to dye your raffia to match the rope, you could, and it would be all kind of monochromatic, depending on what you want your little bunny to look like. So that is the head. This is going to be the body. So I'm going to start and stop at the top here. That way my ends are all together, and we will just tie these together to make a little hanging sign. It's a pretty large piece, but I think it's going to make a really fun piece of wall decor for my home. Now, at first I was just going to do the bunny silhouette like this, but then I really couldn't resist the urge to do a bunny tail on the back of this and make it look like the back of a bunny, just because that's so much fun. So I'll show you how I go about doing that as well. So we have the body covered with a rope. Again, I'm going to have the start and stop here together where the bunny neck would be. And I just string that through, and I'm going to tie this off, wrapping this around the back so I can kind of hide the knot there in the back. And it matches in perfectly, of course, with the jute rope. I'm going to cut off the excess, and then I'm going to do the same thing to make a little hanger here for the top. Basically, I'm going to tie it, knot it to the rope and the wreath form itself to help keep those together. Double knotting that, and then double knotting the top to make a little hanger. I don't want it to be too tall. You could also use this for your front door, but I don't know how well that raffia would hold up outside. The humidity here in Florida, it seems to droop a little bit, but since I have it pulled tight like this, it might be fine. I also added another piece of twine there to the middle to make sure that I had that centered up properly. And I'm going to use that same twine to make a giant bunny tail. So I wanted something big, so I'm using some of these Dollar Tree wipes that I use to clean my workspace, and I just wrap it with jute. I did about 60 or 70 times. You're going to want a lot. I actually wish I had done even more once I got it done, but basically I just go around that bottle. I'm going to have to pop the lid off of this so I can slide this all off into one piece. There's quite a bit of twine right there. And while I'm holding it, I take another piece of twine and I'm going to tie it off like this. You're going to go over, under, and tie a knot. You're going to want to Tie this as tight as you possibly can and then double knot it, just a traditional pom-pom. I am going to leave those strings on there. I can use that to attach to the bunny, and then I'm going to cut the loops, kind of sawing through that on each side. Now I made them a little bit longer than I needed to, but you can always trim these up. You know, you really can't make them any longer. It's a little bit flat for a pom-pom, so I'm gonna froof it up here a little bit. It's only gonna be like, it's gonna have a flat back, so it doesn't need to be super full, but it is pretty big, right? And then the strings that I used to tie it off, I'm also gonna use those to tie that to the rope and the wreath form here, right at the bottom of our bunny, flipping that over and tying that here. It did want to droop down a little bit, so I did tack it down with some hot glue once I got it attached to my bunny. And I am so glad that I decided to add a bunny tail to it. I just think that makes it look so much more fun. I thought it was a little wild, a little long, so I just gather it all together and give it a quick trim until it is the right scale of little bunny tail to add to this. And just some really fun textures. This doesn't necessarily have to be coastal, but it really looks good with coastal decor using the raffia, the rope, the twine. And I think that looks a lot better. Again, I tacked it down to my raffia with a little bit of hot glue. And there it is. We did it a little rattan bunny rabbit wall hanging using supplies from the Dollar Tree. Isn't that so cute? I kind of have brown walls, but I think it's going to look good, especially that lighter color of raffia against them. I love it, and you can kind of see how big it is. If you're enjoying today's video, be sure to hit that like button, and if you haven't subscribed, please do turn on notifications to find out when I post new videos. And here are some coastal Easter DIYs I've done here on my channel. Now for the next DIY, I found this great little Easter egg topiary at Dollar Tree in the Dollar Tree Plus aisle. This one was $5, and I told you guys that I was going to make it a little bit beachy. I think it's already beachy because it's got the blue Easter eggs and the burlap covering the base of it. Isn't it so cute? And I've made something very similar in one of my previous DIY videos where I used Dollar Tree plastic cutting mats and we glued Easter eggs to it and kind of got like the same kind of effect, but more of a mossy topiary. I thought this was so cute. I could not pass it up. And it's so easy to decorate it. We're just going to use a couple of the shore living items from the Dollar Tree again, starfish and a sand dollar, to make this simple and coastal. You can kind of add whatever you've got, seashells or whatever. I'm going to use like a total of 3 of these little starfish, and we're just going to kind of make them like as ornaments, like on the topiary, kind of like you're like decorating a little Christmas tree. It's full, so you can just kind of sit them in there if you want. If you're going to use this outside, which this is definitely a large enough topiary to use outside, you totally could. You could just kind of glue those in place to make sure they stay. I went ahead and did one at the top, one at the bottom, one right over here, and then I actually decided to use a 4th one right over here. Most of mine stayed in place, but I did go back and like hot glue a couple just to make sure that they didn't go anywhere. And then we're also going to decorate the front with a sand dollar. It's already nice and beachy there on the front with the burlap, but I thought one of these little Dollar Tree sand dollars would be perfect. I'm just going to go ahead and kind of pull the bow. I kind of found like the front of the topiary that I like the best, and that's going to be the front of our piece. We're just going to hot glue the sand dollar. These are plastic too, the little sand dollars from Dollar Tree, and they're so easy to craft with. And I think that looks so beachy. You could also use like seashells, like some larger seashells would be great. But the eggs and stuff are already the perfect beachy colors if you can find this one. There was a few different ones that they have that would work for coastal decor. There was one that was kind of like ferns and stuff like that. So this one fell out, so I just went ahead and hot glued it to some of the greenery in there to kind of make sure that that doesn't fall out again. But this DIY could not be any easier. You can use this for your front porch. I think I'm going to use this in my entryway, but inside. But I thought it was really beachy and fun and so easy to put together just by adding a few more coastal touches to it. What do you guys think about our little Easter egg topiary? I love it, and very little to DIY on this, but it turned out super cute. Okay, moving to some like more indoor Easter decorations. I found these little bottles at the Easter aisle at Dollar Tree. They're so cute. One is like pinkish purple, one is yellow, one is blue. I went ahead and got all three because I thought I could put them together for three little Easter vases to make a really cute display. I love the look of them. They're very like iridescent. I'm just going to go ahead and remove the tags from the bottom. They already have burlap bows on them, which are super cute. I'm just going to kind of update them a little bit just by kind of moving the bow to the bottom of the top of the bottle and just retying those to kind of make them a little bit smaller. They were kind of all over the place. And then kind of trimming the tails down to make three small bows so they're just not quite so large and unruly. But I love the burlap ribbon. It's super cute. I wish they sold this size burlap ribbon at Dollar Tree. I would definitely use that a lot. And I'm going to do the same thing on the yellow vase and on the blue vase. We're going to do a little Easter tray to display the three Easter vases. And I found some glitter coral from the Easter section at Dollar Tree that's going to match each little vase and be really cute. And I thought glitter coral would be perfect because it's going to be coastal too. Now, I like these. I think they turned out really cute. I did want to add a little bit more of a coastal touch to them, though. And I have some of these little clothespins from the Shore Living line of little starfish. And I like to pop them off and use like whatever the ornaments are on them, usually without the clothespins. So sometimes they're very difficult to get apart, sometimes they're easy. I just kind of blast mine with heat until the glue is soft enough to pop off that last piece. Now, some of them, like this one, just pop right off, no problem. But sometimes you can damage whatever you're trying to pull off, but a little heat always seems to help. And I'm going to do one little starfish for the front of each one. It's kind of a beachy blue color, which is fine, but I kind of wanted something to kind of stand out against that pink, yellow, and blue vase. And so I'm just going to paint mine white. I'm just going to use a little makeup sponge. It's a great way to paint these thin wood pieces from the Dollar Tree and just go over all three of them to have three little tiny starfish. I wanted something small enough to kind of fit on the front of the bottles. And they have lots of little holes in them too. So I'm just using a toothpick to make sure that I'm not like blocking any of the holes. And I do want it to be a nice bright white. So once it was dry, I did go over it with the second coat just to make the white a little bit brighter. Now it's just a matter of attaching those to the front of my vases. I'm just going to glue them about halfway up. I have all my bottles lined up next to each other so I can make sure they're all kind of in the same place. I kind of want them all to be symmetrical. So I'm going to do the center one first, and then we can do the other two as well. And I'm just simply hot gluing those on. Just a little fun way to decorate the front of the vase as well. And I just love these vases. I've never seen these at Dollar Tree before. I think they might be new for Easter this year. Now, these are the glitter coral that I want to put inside. I thought pink for the pink one, yellow for the yellow one, and like blue for the blue one. So we're going to go ahead and get those ready. I think one sprig of coral will be plenty for each vase because the vases are pretty small. And I also picked up some more of the blue to save to do coastal DIYs with because I think it's so beachy. Now, I do want them to stand in there, and I don't want to just put the plastic stem in there. I want something to be able to put them in. So I'm actually going to use some of the sand from the Dollar Tree. This is the white sand, but honestly, I don't think it would really matter. You're not going to be able to see it too much. And I'm just cutting a hole in the corner so I can just pour it in there. I needed quite a bit to be able to have enough area to kind of push that down inside. I'm kind of going past the area with the starfish on there so that I have plenty of sand in there. So I did have to use some of another bag as well to make it as tall as I wanted since I'm doing all three of the vases. And I just made sure to kind of fill them all up evenly because we're going to be displaying them all side by side on a little Easter tray. So that's about how far I filled mine. And it couldn't be any easier. We're just going to leave like the coral all attached. It's just a matter of putting them down into the sand. about as far as it can go, and it's actually quite tall. These little glitter corals, and I thought this was a great way to use these and incorporate these for Easter decor and also coastal. So this is how my three vases look. I think they look so springy and fun. And so we'll go ahead and just set those to the side. We can get started on the tray. I want to use one of these little long wood slice signs. I love using these for crafting. I always pick these up any size I can get. And I like this long skinny one for a tray. So I'm going to go ahead and start here by carefully removing the staples and the hanger. You have to be really careful. That bark can come off, and cleaning up the sign by removing the sticker. I'm using this comber beige, I think it is, apple barrel paint, and we're just going to go ahead and paint the wood that color. What I'm going for is I want it to look like a driftwood tray since we're doing coastal Easter. So I wanted to stain it some colors that make it look more like driftwood. So I went ahead and wiped off the excess with a baby wipe, but also distressing the bark on the edges to kind of lighten that up, kind of make that look weathered like driftwood as well. And then I went back with a little antique wax by Waverly to kind of distress it some more, to kind of give a little bit of variation to the color. And then just kind of blended that all in together by wiping off the excess. Still had one more staple over there I needed to clean up. Then for the feet of the tray, I thought the little wood eggs from the Dollar Tree would be perfect for a little coastal Easter tray. So I'm going to use 4 of the little wood Easter eggs. They're all the same size. And I think these will make perfect little feet for this tray. The tray is not going to have any sides, but I don't think it really needs anything. And I'm going to use my favorite color, Cloudless Blue from Apple Barrel. I picked this up usually on Amazon. You know, you can ship it for about 50 to 60 cents is all it costs for one of these bottles. And you get free shipping with Prime. Or you can pick it up at Walmart. And I'm just going to go in one coat all over my little Easter eggs because if some of the wood shows through, I think it's just going to make it look a little bit more coastal and distressed. So it's just a matter of kind of getting all the edges of the egg. And we're going to do that on all 4. Then we can just attach the little Easter eggs to the bottom of the tray to kind of lift it up and make it look more like a little display tray. And it was so easy to make and it just turned out so cute. And you could do this with like the round or the oval signs as well. I love these, they're so cute. I'm going to be using a round one a little later in today's video. I went ahead and made my eggs kind of like skinny side at the bottom, if that makes sense, to make little feet. And I'm just attaching them with hot glue on all 4 corners, the bottom of our tray. Just trying to make sure they're evenly spaced. And the tray itself is pretty level. Those are pretty easy to attach. I think kind of upside down like that I put them on there. Like that is the best way to do it, to make little feet. How cute is that? A fun little Easter touch to this tray. And then it's just a matter of putting the vases on there. They will all 3 fit fine on this longer tray. And I'm just going to do pink, yellow, blue. I like the yellow in the middle. I think that looks nice and bright. And let me show you how it turned out. Our little glitter coral Easter vases on a cute little driftwood Easter egg tray. Isn't that fun? I'm glad I decided to add the little starfish touches to the front of them as well. Super cute. They have those every year as well. With the Shore Living line, I always try to stock up on all that kind of stuff because I always use it year round. Okay, I told you I was going to show you how we could make a smaller version of the little seagrass Easter basket. So they also have this little tiny tinsel Easter basket, kind of the same thing as the wall hanging, but you're going to get like the 3D piece. It's got the front and the back. And so I'm just going to remove all of the tinsel that's on there, and we're going to make just a little seagrass Easter basket. This would be really good for like an Easter tier tray. And again, we're just going to use one of those little basket purses from the Dollar Tree. So the handle on this, the cage kind of comes apart like you can see. And then I thought the best way to cover the handle would be just to take the handle from the bag and simply wrap it around the little plastic form for the handle. going to give me really good coverage. So I just started at one end and wrapped that all the way around. It does kind of come apart a little bit there, you can see. And I'm just going to hot glue that down, but I can still leave the little hoop loop on there to reattach that to the basket. So we have both sides glued down, and that's how it fits together with the cage, and it's got little spikes there to kind of stab the eggs in between. So we're just going to start cutting up this purse to get some seagrass for the basket. And I tell you, this definitely looks a lot better than the tinsel, I think. So just kind of measuring that out to size to make sure it's going to fit, attaching it with some hot glue right around the top of the Easter basket and gluing that down. It's really almost the exact same shape as before, so I'm going to kind of do the same technique. I'm going to cut it down to size where there is enough to go around the sides as well, but not too much. And then just hot gluing that around the corners here. And gluing that down. Then just trimming off the excess there on the bottom, and then we're just going to glue the other side as well. Definitely be careful on this step that you're not burning yourself. I just want enough to cover the cage and nothing more. It's looking super cute. Now we need to do the same thing with the back of the decoration as well, the little basket. By using the other side of the purse, I'm just going to cut out another piece. And just kind of repeating the same process using my finished edge for the top. Gives me a nice straight edge. Making sure I have enough to go around the sides, but not too much. And then I can just glue that to the sides like before. Now the little plastic pegs on the little cage are still there so that I can put this little Easter basket back together. But there are also little stakes in there to kind of hold the eggs in place. And so I kind of need to deal with the eggs at this point too. I actually had some eggs. These are just some foam eggs I had left over from an old Easter decoration that kind of fell apart. And they're the perfect color, so I'm going to use them to replace the little eggs that were already in there, just because those had glitter. And since I have these, the colors are perfect. You could always paint the foam ones as well, or paint over the glitter if you don't like the glitter. And then just using hot glue, I'm going to reattach my cage. So using the pegs to put it back together, but the hot glue is also going to glue it in there. And those little spikes hold the little eggs in place as well. Whenever you have like a decoration fall apart like that, be sure to save the pieces because you can find some good stuff. And then I'm just going to, for the greenery, I'm just going to use reindeer moss. There's not a lot of room, but I'm just going to kind of sprinkle that down in there, kind of sticking out. Instead of using like a tinsely Easter grass, this is going to look a little bit more natural. And then, of course, I want another coastal touch, so I'm going to finish it off with a starfish. This is a starfish that I just got on Amazon, but you could always use the ones from the Dollar Tree. How cute is that little Easter basket? I love it. This is how it looks just hanging, sitting on my shelf for Easter in front of some grass. And I've done a larger version of this seagrass Easter basket as well, using the Easter basket tinsel sign that hangs on the wall. Both super cute, and anytime I can use those bags or those hats like that from the Dollar Tree, they turn out great for crafting. Now, the next DIY is so easy. I picked up a couple items from the Target Dollar Spot. This is our little aqua colored Easter basket from a Dollar Spot. It's only $1, so cheaper than the Dollar Tree. And I thought we would give it a slight makeover to try to make it look, again, less like plastic. And I'm going to do that with some of the Rust-Oleum matte finish. So I'm going to go ahead, put my eggs and stuff to the side and spray that with a coat of that. It's going to make it look a little bit more high-end. I want it to kind of look like a ceramic little Easter basket that we're going to fill with some coastal Easter eggs. So again, I just sprayed one coat all over, kind of like I did with the plastic Easter egg. And I thought about like there's polka dots and swirls on the side. I thought about painting them white, but I kind of like the look of it all, this like beautiful aqua color. And so I left it as is. So this was a great find for $1. And I think it's gonna be great to hold some coastal Easter eggs. Now, I don't want to use like tons of Spanish moss and tons of eggs. So I'm just going to take some newspaper and I'm going to take a couple pieces and just put that in there to kind of fill up the space so I don't have to use as many craft materials. You won't be able to see that part anyway. So I did 2 pieces of newspaper. And then we're going to go in with some Dollar Tree Spanish moss. I thought that would look nice and beachy. I'm just going to do a whole package right here at top and try to empty it into the basket so I can have as little mess as possible. When you're working with this stuff, it does get kind of messy. And I just kind of break it apart, make it look kind of like seaweed or Spanish moss over at the beach. I think that looks fun, and kind of going over the edges just a little bit. And then I found the perfect coastal Easter eggs at Target Dollar Spot. I was so impressed with these. You get 6 in a bag for $3, and they're little woven Easter eggs. They look so beachy. It's like a rope woven around the egg, but it's so cute. I just love it. So I'm gonna do a total of 6 here, and I thought I needed one more, and I did pick up 2 packages. They also had carrots that I picked up, and I love those as well. So I did a total of 7 in mine to make my bucket nice and full, and then I kind of like the bucket handle up. I tried it like both ways to see which way I like, and I think that looks really cute. And then for another little beachy touch, I thought I would add one of the Dollar Tree starfish. You could also add like seashells, anything else beachy, but it really didn't need too much. But this is going to look great sitting on my shelves for Easter. It's so coastal and beachy, but so fun for Easter. And I didn't even have to make the eggs. So a big time saver. First time I've seen those at Target Dollar Spot, I was so excited to find them because really for $3, that is a great bargain. This is how it turned out, our little beachy Easter basket filled with coastal Easter eggs. Couldn't be any easier, and you can kind of see the pattern there on the basket. Super cute. I really hope you enjoyed all of these coastal Easter Dollar Tree DIYs. You'll have to let me know which one was your favorite down in the comments below. Don't forget to check out my second channel, Crafty Little Beach, if you like to watch shorter videos on your mobile phone, and enjoy the final reveal.
Looking for my mother's eyes as I'm staying close to the mirror. A lock of gold, a secret smile, little things I remember. Place a hand upon my heart as her, she was a believer. Sometimes I can feel her arms holding me as forever. Time changes everything, and everything will change in time. Love changes every heart, and any heart can change you. I see in you my mother's eyes, and I lay your head to my shoulder. A lock of gold, a secret smile, I will tell you when you get older. I place a hand upon your heart, every beat is taking me over, and I will hold you in my arms, pretend we'll stay here forever. Time changes everything, and everything will changes everything, and everything will change in time. Love changes every heart, and any heart can change you. Looking for my mother's eyes as I'm staying close to the mirror.
Thank you so much for making it all the way to the end of today's video. That really helps my channel here on YouTube. And I also want to thank all of my members. Thank you to Karen O'Haron, Melinda Elizabeth, Jamie Job, Susan Edmonds, Tracy Knight, Janae Farrington, Pamelia Wren, Donna Shiner, I Am Mojo Jojo, Live Another Day, Maren Christensen, Adrian Brolt, Debbie Middleton, Donna Tanner, Kim Rogers, and Maria Cruz Pagan. Thank you so much for your support. It really means the world to me. If you'd like to become a Crafty Beach Fun member, all you have to do is hit join next to today's video. You're going to get early ad-free access to my content here on YouTube, a badge next to your name when you comment down below, and a shout out in every video. I'd also love to see what you've been crafting. Show off your gorgeous DIYs by joining our private Facebook group linked in the description of today's video. We would love to see what you've been crafting as well. Now, would you like even more Easter crafting inspiration? Be sure to check out one of these videos right here. And until next time, happy crafting and happy Easter.